never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.
Hi guys, welcome back to my Steps to Sobriety, my show on YouTube and as a podcast with me, your host, Stephan Neff. Today is another fantastic day for an interview. And today I've got a colleague here. I've got a colleague from the United States beaming in. However, no longer beaming in really as the surgeon that she was, as the woman kicking ass in corporate medicine out there, multi-million dollars, accolades left, right, and center. And then something happened. And then suddenly, I guess I could say, Michelle finally stopped and asked herself, who does she want to be when she grew up? And that is exactly what we're going to talk about. So an amazing transformation. And I can't wait to hear what was the catalyst, how was the before, how was the after. Oh, can't wait. Michelle, welcome to my show.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited.
And it's so bizarre, isn't it? I mean, the sheer fact that we two as medical professionals are sitting here and talking on a podcast, that already is, I don't know, 0.1% of our profession actually take the time out to actually come to that point. Whilst the rest is still on the rat race, on the hamster wheel. And it's just so
chained to their golden handcuffs.
Oh, nicely said. Nicely said. And you were not different. Did you always want to become a surgeon? Was that always your dream?
So the story of me becoming a doctor is really interesting. As long as I can remember, I wanted to be a doctor. And it was like this path to independence. I grew up in I was abused pretty heavily as a child. And so I realized early on that I had to take care of myself. And it wasn't until, I want to say January of 2019, and I was in this like meditation, NLP timeline kind of thing with a coach. And the coach took us back to, because he asked the specific question, if you haven't made money in your business yet, let's find out why. And so he took us way, way back in our timeline. Go ahead.
No, sorry. No.
Oh,
sorry. I raised the finger. That's why I was just, tell me.
Like, if you haven't made money in your business yet, and this is talking about the online business, let's find out why. And let's go back into your timeline to the first time that you started thinking about money. And so I went back in my timeline and I had this memory. And I was 5 years old, standing behind my mom. And I know it's a real memory because like right at my eye level was the back of her knee. So like it's appropriate. This isn't made up. And my mom was facing somebody and she was talking about her brothers who were doctors. And she said, those guys are doctors, they're so rich. And so my 5-year-old brain incorporated that into my subconscious and said, doctors are rich. I want to make mom happy. The only way to make money is to be a doctor. And that's how I'm going to make my mom happy because she wants money. Now that program ran in my brain until I entered medical school at age 31. I tried other things and I still couldn't do it. I had to go to medical school. I graduated surgical residency at the age of 40 and I worked as a surgeon until 55.
And in all fairness, it is still a male-dominated society as far as surgery is concerned. And it's certainly in those environments in which I worked and came up, there was always a hot competition amongst all the surgical residents to either get and stay on the program or in fact then establish yourself in such a way that you get a decent standing in the community and actually get out. So brutal hours. And when we say brutal hours, I mean, the States are infamous for it, but this is around the world. I started my anesthetic training, late 90s. And it was quite common for us to start on a Friday, end up on a Monday, basically on call throughout. Are there similar horror stories in your life? Was
Oh
that your
yeah.
life?
Yeah, so I mean, we were every third night on call, sometimes every second.
Mm.
We have specific laws in New York, and I think throughout the country now, that you can't be on call for more than a several certain number of hours, but
Mm.
it doesn't matter because we broke them all the time. And there was one time I was up for like, I want to say 50, 60 hours at a time, and I mean, you just get used to being sleep deprived. And when I got to the point where I was like really sick of being on call and really sick of not being able to sleep through the night, and my nervous system was like, we just need to sleep. And so I'd get these calls and I'd have anger. I'd have
Oh
anger
yeah.
at getting called. And so I had to really look at me. I'm like, why am I being this way? I mean, this is the life I signed up for. And I realized that I didn't want that life anymore. That was a big part of it, was like, I just want to sleep through the night. And
What
that's
are
what
we
I did. I
talking?
mean, when I left,
What are we talking about? Are we talking even now in private? Was that why did you get calls in private? You were doing a
no,
private.
this is when I was working as a surgeon
Yeah.
in
So
and taking call at night. So we in America, it's really rare to have a group covering the night. We had to cover our own stuff at our own ER.
see, that's the interesting one. So I work now fully in private, and we don't do on calls because we are an elective surgery hospital. So it's
Yeah.
basically all my colleagues. We are rocking up at 8 in the morning, kick ass until 5, 6. And we work for our money, no two ways around it. But then we have got a very good setup. We are still on call for our patients, but because, well, we are doing a decent job, and we have got nurses trained. Hey,
Yeah.
it is actually a very beautiful life. Whilst at 3 o'clock in the morning, cesarean section, and then the 4 o'clock and the 5 o'clock, etc. Oh my God, that was
2
bird.
a.m. appendectomy. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I got to a point where I just didn't, I mean, I like doing emergency surgery. That's my forte. I love it. Right. I didn't love trauma, but I love doing emergencies. And because there's just not a whole lot that can happen that I don't know what to do with. Like, I don't like trauma because I don't want to deal with a fractured like pancreas or something.
Yeah.
But like, what are the emergencies in the belly? I mean, it's like, it's going to be a ruptured colon, or it's going to be a perforated stomach, viscus or something, or it's going to be a gallbladder. I mean, there's just common things are common. And so I really liked the certainty of it, even though there was a lot of uncertainty. The biggest uncertainty was like when they would call us. And so what I tried to do was replace myself. And so I hired 4 surgeons. And what happened was I ended up creating a lot of resentment because I wasn't working as much as they were, even though I was the one paying them. And somehow in my leadership style, I would created a lot of resentment. And at that point, I realized, well, I don't like leading surgeons. And so I thought, well, let me take one of my surgeons and make him the medical director. And then that'll give me a little bit more, a break from like the resentment and the anger that was coming off of my staff. And it just bred more resentment. And then I was basically, fuck this. I don't want to do this. This is not the life I want. Because I got to the point where I was so unhappy every day, I actually considered suicide. And I was like, well, I don't want to live like this. This is not healthy. And so I said, it's easier to burn the whole thing down to the ground and start something brand new all over again than to live in this misery. And
Wow.
so
Talk about a bloody burnout, girl. You didn't do things by half. And when I say that, I mean, one of the classic symptoms for us showing our burnout is the lack of empathy, both to the patients as well as to others. And I can remember sitting in a clinic when a patient, I thought, oh my God, you have problems. Let me tell you about my problems. And it was that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I stopped myself then. But my goodness, I mean, this is a classic telltale sign of us really coming to the end of our tether,s and it should
Yeah.
never come to that yet. In my career, so many times it has happened, and it
Yeah, I
comes
mean,
cyclical, isn't it? I
yeah,
mean,
well, in America, now everything is corporate medicine. And I was one of the holdouts. Like I was a independent, I employed people. I had the biggest group in the area that was still independent. And then administration of the hospital actually tried to interfere with my employment contracts. And I just looked at them and I said, how could you even think that you have say in a private employment contract here? Why am I here in this meeting? And
okay.
so it was that just lack of caring about what I provided to this hospital that and how little I mattered to them,
Oh yeah.
that just
Ooh.
it was just such a, it was like such a telltale sign for me. Like it it was a struggle from the day I started. And I left without any, they didn't thank me, they didn't, and I, I'd given the hospital a lot of money and they just didn't care. And I thought, I need more meaning in my life than this. And so I saw, I had actually in 2009, I was feeling the same way and I quit for a while. And I did some locums and then they asked me to come back. So I went back and it, it was never my calling. See, that's the thing I'm trying to say. I had this belief at age 5 and I wanted to please my mom. And that program ran until 2019 when I recognized it. And then it still took me another couple years to undo it after that. And am I a doctor? Yes, I'll always be a doctor. But do I have to be a doctor to make money? Do I have to work in medicine to make money? No. And that was the undoing of the belief that I had to work on. And it's just a testament to the fact that we create so many strong beliefs in our childhood that we just think are normal, that we don't even know what they are. Like I had no idea I'd created this belief. I had no idea, why was I so strongly drawn to medicine? Now, I don't regret any of it, right? But it just wasn't my calling. I had always been really more called to psychology. I love the brain and trying to figure out how the brain works and motivation and change and all these things. And that was always something I was interested in. But I was able to really focus and make things happen for me as a single parent when I was in medical school and then residency. So I got through that and I built this practice and I figured out how to make a lot of money and then I was able to leave it. So, listen, I made money. Hi, Mom. Um, and now as I kind of have evolved into a different person and realized that it really is about what I choose to think about things, that mindset is really the key to everything. Then I started working with women in menopause. Okay. And I was like, menopause is such a hard time for us as women. It's like another puberty and it comes on so suddenly and we don't know what to do. And so I started like reaching out to women in menopause and then realized that I was attracting people who were nothing like me. They were housewives or a chronic pain and they just wanted to complain a lot and get medical questions answered. And I'm like, well, menopause is not a medical condition. So let's just reframe menopause. And so I said, okay, let me work with people who are already high achievers, but know that something's off in their life. And again, in life, you get your habits. So how can I help you like go after that dream that you let go when you were in your 20s because all you were doing was taking care of the people in your life, because that's what we do as women. That's what we're expected to do. And so now I've got a program called Launch Your Life, and it really is, how to create your ideal life one habit at a time. And one way that you can work with me is to get into my 28-day challenge, which I do at the beginning of every month. And it's just 4 habits to get on top of your weight, because women in menopause gain weight in the middle, and we don't want to admit that it's our behavior, but it is. Sometimes it's hormonal, but mostly it's our behavior. And so I start with 4 simple habits, And then we move from there into the Launch Your Life coaching program if you want to stay and help you build your life one small habit at a time.
And that's exactly the way to go, isn't it? These habits and dealing with the core beliefs. This is, I think, the key things to do. But most of us, we run away. And I've got a lifetime of running. So in my case, I became a holic early in my life. I became
Yeah.
a workaholic first, because again, I both at school, I suddenly recognized that has got distinct advantages for me to be actually the best. And then for many other reasons, PTSD, the main thing in my life, which drove me to work. Because when I was doing work, when I was learning, when I was doing whatever, I was focused and I didn't have to think about my emotions and my feelings and maybe my core beliefs. The sheer fact that core beliefs are riding me, that only came in my 40s that I figured that out. So I became a workaholic before I became an alcoholic. But
Sure.
still, I was escaping my reality. How did you escape? Because you noticed it yourself. There are these undercurrents there that made you unhappy.
Yeah.
We hate to be unhappy. So how did you try to run away? What was your
Wow. So it's really, I did a lot of traveling last year.
right?
And it's so funny. I didn't want to do another New York winter. And so February 15th last year, I drove to California from New York.
Yeah.
And it was really great because I spent a lot of time by myself, on the road drive. I mean, I really enjoyed the drive. And I went and stayed with my cousin in California. And I thought, oh yeah, I'll get out and I'll ride my bike and I'll run and stuff. And I got really depressed. I
Interesting.
drank too much. I ate too much. I didn't move my body. And I was like, man, this is really true. In life, you get your habits. And so then again, in at the end of September and for the month of October and part of November, I went over to Europe. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to run every day. I'm going to do. I ate potato chips every day. I gained like 30 pounds. And I was like, wow, wherever you go, there you are. And
Okay.
so,
Okay. Oh, whoa. No. Too easy. Too easy. Yes, you're right. You're right about everything you say. At the same token, here you have been burning the candles on both end and in the middle for years. Don't you think that your body was actually saying, fuck that. I need to sleep. I need to crash. I need
I don't
to.
know. I mean, I was partying and, the thing is that there's something that happens with me, and that is there's a cycle. So if I eat food that I know is not good for me,
Yeah.
okay, anything from a restaurant usually, if so, it's stuff I haven't prepared, and that the reason for that is because of what the restaurants use. They use seed oils because they're odorless and tasteless and cheap, but they're not good for us, and they're definitely not good for me because what happens is they lead me into a depression. So if I eat fried foods or just about anything from a restaurant, because they make their salad dressings and everything with these seed oils, corn, canola, cottonseed, soy, safflower, sunflower, those are the worst ones. So so I'll eat French fries or I'll eat chips or I'll eat whatever, and then I'll lose my motivation. And it's really interesting because it happened over and over and over. So I know this is a fact for me, maybe not for you, but it is for me. So I'll eat this food, and then in at least 2 weeks, I lose motivation. It takes a while because it's got to get through my system. And then I don't want to exercise. And when you haven't exercised for a while, that's when it's hardest to get started again.
Tell you.
And so,
okay, so
that's what happened. That's what happened to me in California. That's what happened to me in England.
I take that. But let's rewind 5 years.
Yes.
That is, you can't be that kick-ass type A personality all the time. I tried, it doesn't work. So I did the 16 hours and then I needed to decompress, and I used alcohol to do so. What did you do to decompress?
So I'm a TV watcher. So if I need to numb out, I'll watch TV for hours. That's one thing I'll do. And I've kind of taken to, there's certain shows I can only watch if I'm like on my bike. So there is a bit of rule there. Like I won't, there's certain just things I really, really like.
Yeah.
I'll only watch if I'm doing a stationary bike ride or something. So I'm able to like give myself some rules, but yeah. So my thing is, I'll watch TV. I'll just watch TV and I won't do anything else
Which is
because I can
beautiful.
numb out watching TV.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're distracted, and numbing out is such a beautiful description of it, isn't it? You're no
Yeah.
longer, you actually have to calm down.
But I mean, I used to drink, and I won't, I used to drink, and it's so funny because my mom died of Wernicke-Korsakoff. She really had a bad alcohol problem. My brother was a recovering alcoholic. And actually, so my childhood was really interesting because I had suppressed a lot of my abuse. And then when I was 15, like a whole bunch of stuff resurfaced. And so I started causing problems because things were resurfacing. I was one of these like problem teenagers. And at one point, my parents actually put me into an inpatient psych facility because I had run away from home and, trying to get away from all the shit. And so, so after that, when that didn't work, they put me in alcohol rehab, but I was never a drinker. I just smoked a lot of pot. And and so I actually at 15 was going to AA and was like believing that I was an addict. I was never an addict. I was a problem teen. And so coming to grips with that, I actually started having alcohol again in my late 20s. And then what I realized was that when I drink, I think more about drinking. And when I don't drink, I think less about drinking. And I feel better when I don't drink. So I think the last time I had a drink was in December, like the end of December, before New Year's. And I decided I just wanted to take a break from it for January. And here I am, now it's, and I just don't miss it. Now I've got a full on, wine cellar and I love whiskey and all these things, but I just hate being drunk because number one, I say stupid shit. I cannot stand that because I say stupid shit and then I have to walk it back the next day. Okay. And it pisses me off because it's like, that's the thing I hate the most about drinking because I say stupid shit and it's not funny. It's really bad.
That's right. And you write it. You write the email
I tend to not drunk dial people, but
good.
I'll say stupid shit. And then I hate having a headache the next day. I have MTHFR. And so that's a gene that makes it so that I don't metabolize alcohol as well. And so when I first got this diagnosis, I started taking milk thistle and it made it so I never got hangovers as much. But now I just don't drink because I just find it to be, when I drink, I start thinking about drinking more. And if you read the book, This Naked Mind, if you read that book, that book was probably the most insightful for me because it isn't like just because you're genetics, you're an alcoholic. No, you're an alcoholic because alcohol is fucking addictive, period. It has nothing to do with whether it's your mom and your dad, your brother. It's just like, if you drink, it's like, I don't know, like a tentacle, like an octopus that's just going to grab you and bring you in. That's it. Alcohol's job is to make you want it more.
Nicely put.
It has nothing to do with your genetics or anything else. When you drink, you want to drink more. So it's easier to just not drink at all.
Having said that, there is a distinct superpower that I have got, and that is that my brain can kick out dopamine at an amazing level.
Lucky.
And I think, well, yeah, in the sense of it typically is linked to alcohol or is linked to other things. So my superpower is genetically predisposition. Having said that, you're so right in everything you said about the alcohol. It is alcohol gives us so many advantages at the start. That's the reason that we use it, because it numbs your inhibitions. It makes you maybe a bit more outgoing, and many people who really end up quite nasty with the alcohol, they have got a lot of trauma. They are actually quite
Yeah.
shy.
That was my
Um,
mom.
exactly,
She was a nasty drug.
it is
Yeah.
100%. So, and that's when actually the magic starts. Once you either yourself or with the help of others or with the help of a rehab program, you come off that drug. And that and then allows you to start addressing all the other shit that has happened in your life and that maybe you have been contributing to. Now you can actually address that. And that is so hard when you're still drinking. I
Yeah.
remember
Well,
for years I've got beautiful self-help books, walls covered with self-help books. And typically I was drinking them with a Chardonnay in my hand. I thought, oh, that's a good idea. I will do that. Yeah, right, as if you would. So now you were about to say.
yeah, I was going to say that I can, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I
No,
wiped
it's
you
okay.
over the
It went
mouth.
out of my head. But you know, it's really funny because we think that alcohol makes us more fun. But go to a party and intentionally don't drink. And you can see people devolve. It's not does not make you more fun. It makes you sloppy.
Very true. Very, very,
You know,
very
I mean,
true.
and that's the thing. Like, I met a guy in England, and we were talking about cognac. I really happen to like cognac in a warm glass, and we were talking about it. He says, "Yeah, I haven't had a drink in 6 weeks, and or maybe 6 months or something." And I said, "Well, how are you feeling?" He says, "It's boring." And I'm thinking this guy's going to go back to drinking soon, because if it's boring, then because I find that when I'm not drinking, life has more color. It's easier for me to feel motivated about things. It's just alcohol is like the worst depressant, and it comes in. The problem is it is the only drug, well, that and nicotine, that we just constantly push as an okay thing to do in stress. And you see it, like, it's really funny. Like, there's this one show that I watched. I think it was about robots. It was a Russian show on Netflix about robots. And every time somebody was stressed, they were pouring themselves, 3 fingers of something. And it made me think, gosh, I guess that's what you're supposed to do when you're stressed out. Now, I'm 50 something years old, and I was thinking that. And I thought, man, if that's what I think, what are we telling children? That drinking is okay when you're stressed.
Exactly.
Why not go, like, hit the punching bag, or go out for a run, or talk.
You are right, 100% true. But this is, you say, we tell ourselves. I would go one step further, that there is actually a multi-trillion-dollar industry out there who employs very clever people to make you think that you should behave like that.
Yeah,
Lovely
it's
stud.
just so socially acceptable and pushed. I would challenge anyone to find a mainstream movie coming out of America that does not have drinking and alcohol in it.
If you look at streaming,
I mean, and smoking, sorry.
if you look at streaming services, there was a beautiful study done 2-3 years ago now, in which they watched 1,000 hours of the most commonly watched shows, regardless what they were, and analyzed how much alcohol was being drunk, how often was displayed, etc. Every 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes, alcohol was being displayed, was put in a positive way, or being drunk just casually. And when they then analyzed 2 different streaming services. It was amazing. Regardless what show you watched, seemingly the heroes in one streaming service really liked their whiskey. And
Mhm.
then in the other streaming service, they really liked their beer. And you just have to say, yeah, right. There is no product placement. There is no product advertisement. Oh, of course there is. It's just has become more sophisticated.
I
And
remember back in the 80s when Tony Robbins used to be on TV
mm,
at night, and Tony Robbins said something that always stuck with me, that the girls in the Budweiser commercials, right? They wouldn't be looking like that if they drank Budweiser.
ooh, very nice. Very
You know,
nice.
and we forget it. We just forget, you know, that because like look, we're watching TV. It doesn't matter now. Okay. So you're watching streaming services, you're not watching commercial TV anymore, right? But they're still bombarding you with commercials. Like, what are they eating? They're eating chips and they're eating popcorn and they're eating pizza and mac and cheese and all the things that are not good for you. That you can't have the body you desire if that's what you're choosing to put in your mouth.
100%. 100%. And I think that is the social engineering that has been happening over the last 50, 80, close to 100 years, actually. It started off with women being told, what, you're baking your own bread? That is very below you. And crap like that from a society where women, due to often financial restraints, etc., we're still cooking their own meals. We're doing
Love
their
baking
own.
bread.
Exactly. So you can actually, you know what is in it. You know, how can a chip have 17 ingredients? Okay, so if you look at actually what is on the back of your food, the nutrition labels, my goodness. Okay, so that is how we have changed as a society and have let that happen. This is all marketing. This is all making money out of you buying shit and eating said shit. And then wondering why our rate of diabetes, why our rate of cardiovascular disease is going through the roof.
Hey,
So
listen, I'm going to say right now, diabetes is because of seed oils. More than anything else, it's because of seed oils. We started using seed oils in the, as soon as they were manufactured. Think about when Crisco was manufactured, and you can see diabetes. It's not just sugar, but it's seed oils. They're poison. They're
it's a good.
poison.
There's definitely it's a good combination of things. It's always hard to put a finger on one single thing because so
Sure.
many things have been changed fundamentally,
Well,
absolutely
it's not. I mean, but look at how we removed fat from our diets. We
Indeed,
removed good fats from our diets, and you can
absolutely.
see as we removed back in the 70s, everybody was thin. Most people were thin, right? And then as we started to as we started to demonize fat because of Ansel Keys, who was an idiot, by the way. He was like an eel scientist. He was and he did this 7-country study, and he decided that fat was the bad guy, and fat has never been the bad guy. It's these manufactured fats, these fats that come from plastic.
Exactly.
Any of these vegetable oils we were just talking about, the soy, safflower, sunflower, corn, canola, cottonseed, these are byproducts of other industries, right? So the cotton seeds, they were sitting there, they were getting rancid. Like, how can we turn this into money? Oh, let's go ahead and hydrogenate them. And part of that process is they get turned into plastic, and then they get turned into a liquid. And they're so volatile and free radicals when you heat them up. And then they just use them, they use them over and over and over and over. You go to McDonald's or whatever, right? So it wasn't only the onset, the assault on our pancreas with sugar, because you take the fat out. What are you going to do to add flavor? You're going to have to add sugar to it. So we had the assault on our pancreas, and our pancreases never get a rest. But on top of that, then we're using this poisonous, toxic seed oil that increases inflammation everywhere in our body, and then boom, diabetes. Sorry, I went on a rant there.
No, that's absolutely fine. And then, unfortunately, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because the moment you gain significant weight, this adipose tissue is not just sitting there. When I was studying medicine, yeah, fat, it just sits there. No, it is not. It is
It's
hugely,
metabolically active.
oh, hell yes. You're quite
Yeah.
right. And most people don't recognize that. It's also hugely inflammatory. You know, it's the amount of inflammatory inflammation cells that are sitting in there and are disgorging all that poisonous soup of chemicals that makes your body, changes your body. That is huge. So therefore, it becomes self-fulfilling. There's this. It just keeps going and gets worse and worse and worse.
Right.
Add
Well, and
then,
that's why
the
it's so hard to lose
menopause.
weight.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then menopause comes and your
exactly.
hormones go wacky, right? And then women think that they have to balance their hormones, which is bullshit,
Uh,
because at the end of the day, what is menopause but a normal, natural rebalancing of your hormones,
True. Very nicely
right?
said.
And so, I mean, yeah, you might need a little help. Well, some women do, because you can go crazy in menopause. Trust me, it can really mess with your brain.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, you know, it is such a privilege of a long life, and it is so amazing for us to have this opportunity to look at our lives, to take stock and say, okay, what do I want now? And a lot of us will end relationships in menopause. It just happens. You know, it's like it's not because our brains are wacky and messed up, but it's just that, you know, I just spent my whole life helping you succeed, and then fuck you, you haven't helped me at all. You know, I mean, and that happens, and it's okay. You know, we evolve, we change. But the other thing is that if you've spent your 20s and 30s and 40s eating these seed oils, all your hormones are made with these inflammatory fats, because fat is a precursor to hormones.
Yeah.
So if you're eating all these crappy hormones, crappy fats, then all your hormones are not that good anyway. And you're going to have like hot flashes and even more and more and more symptoms, because all that you've made, the building blocks of your hormones, has been from these bad fats.
It's an intriguing realization that you bring out there. And I had other specialists on menopause on my show, and you all are singing from the same song sheet. And it's so beautiful to hear that, to hear the menopause as an a privilege of transformation, of a reset, so to speak, of you actually stepping off your hamster wheel and actually coming out and thinking, okay, who do I want to be in the next phase of my life? And that is so beautiful. So I love it when you actually rephrase uh, relationship problems and maybe relationship breakups, not as, oh, she has turned crazy. No, she woke up, you could
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
And that is
And
so
you talked
beautiful.
about the hamster wheel, stepping off the hamster wheel, or some of us just get freaking thrown off.
Yeah, okay. And that can be a good thing.
Yeah. You know, I mean, that's what I saw. You took the hamster wheel and I went, vroom.
Yeah. Oh, priceless. What a good metaphor, because that's
Yeah.
exactly what sometimes needs to happen. And
Yeah.
and I say that again and again to my patients, which are often I mean, because I do elective surgery, it's probably a bit more men than women. And I live in New Zealand in a kind of working man's town. So people do interesting things with their shoulders, and then I have to help them fix them, sort of these kind of things. So the traumas. And these guys have not stopped working, because that's how they define themselves, as the breadwinners, as the active guys. And then suddenly they have their shoulder operation. They're going to be 6 weeks in a sling. Then they're going to be 6 weeks learning how to use that arm again. And before they arrive, that's 6 months. No one has ever taken 6 months to reflect. And that can be bloody scary for so many men, but also women. So I rephrased that for them, and I asked them the questions. Is that not an opportunity for you to actually rethink your life and actually go out there and actually stop for a moment and actually think, who do you want to be when you grow up? I often ask that specific question to men, women in their 50s, 60s, because that's sort of when all that sort of seems to happen. And in their heart and in their brain, they're still 25 and think they can hold these beautiful do beautiful things. So there is that. The notion that you grow old graciously has become lost in our society. You have to be young. You have to be, a certain thing. I mean,
Yeah.
ah, that is in our society. Leave alone the United States. One of my heroes, being a martial artist, Chuck Norris. Come on, my man, Chuck Norris is
Yeah.
all the jokes. I believe he is the man. But I saw him recently in him and his wife in pictures, and he has the dyed hair. He must be in his 70s, late 70s, something like that now, and he is not growing old whatsoever. And funnily enough, his body will be giving out, and it is. Hang on, that you need to draw a line somewhere. We
Yeah.
are.
I mean, we have this concept of enough. And I don't think that we are cognizant of it. Like, what is enough? People, yeah, we may not ever be as wealthy as Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos, but it's never enough for them.
Yeah.
So what is enough? And I think that that's a great philosophical discussion. What is enough? You speak about the cult of youth, and I think about, Dick Clark, who never got old even after a stroke, right? He still, I mean, he'll talk like this, but he still had black hair. You know, so
I hear you.
I and what women are doing to their faces because of the Kardashians or whoever. I like, I'm going to admit it. I've had Botox and I've had fillers, and at the end of the day, I mean, I cannot undo the fact that gravity sucks and aging happens, and I would rather just look in the mirror and love what I see no matter what. And that is a process.
Exactly.
That is a process. You have to start to love yourself. And the only way to do that is to make a conscious effort to fall in love with yourself. And we don't want to do that because of the way society teaches us that we're not valuable unless we're giving something to someone else. But you know what? You are valuable. You are infinitely worthy no matter what right now. And when you can start to see that infinite worth and look in the mirror and see it and start to love it and appreciate it, that's where the magic starts to happen.
But then again, this is a very active process, and you need to take active steps in the right direction. You can't just wake up one day and say, okay, today we're going to love ourselves. And
but you can start with something simple like, every time I have that negative thought, I'm going to say I love myself or I love you. Everything. So this is how it happened for me. At the end of 2018, I was making a lot of money. I'm making millions of dollars a year. I went on in the end of 2018. I had been on a couple of vacations. One of them was to the Caribbean islands for New Year's on a yacht. Fantastic. And every time I looked in the mirror, I said, I hate you. And I had this epiphany. I'm like, well, if I were a child, how motivated would I be to take action, to change, if every time someone saw me, they said, I hate you? I would want to run away and hide from that person.
Yeah.
And so I made a decision to say, even if my instinct was, I hate you, I hate this fat body, I hate, whatever, I'm going to look in the mirror and I'm going to say, I love you. And it was that year that I started running. It was that year that I started making better choices with what I ate. And it was probably running that saved my life, because I would run and I would say, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself. And it was my mantra as I ran.
How cool is that?
And it was that year when like some of the suicidal thoughts were coming. And instead of like entertaining them, it was back to, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself.
Beautiful, beautiful. And again, you took active steps. You actually worked on it. And I strongly, strongly believe every single day we have got choices, millions of them. We are not even aware of them. And every single choice either leads us to a life that we really, really want and love and deserve, I say, or leads us away from it. And every single thing, it is not one thing will make the difference, but it's the many little things. So if you actually choose to get up in the morning and put a decent face on as a woman, as a man,
Yep.
and actually look after yourself and have a breakfast that is healthy, well, you have already done several things there that actually make you feel good. And that's
Mhm.
beautiful. I this morning got up and I was a bit grumpy, but I knew I had a show and I wanted to show up. Now, 80% of success is showing up. But
Yep.
also, I know I always feel good after a show because I've got the privilege of talking to people like you. And I got a privilege of reflecting, of thinking, of hearing often things that I know that are true, but you, in your words, just rephrase them that a little bit so that it sounds like a new thing to me and it reinforces my beliefs. So it's beautiful. So I'm taking active action steps here of of making myself that person who I want to be. It doesn't
Yeah.
happen naturally. And you can say how many times I love you, I love you. It's all good. If you don't take action, like you with the running or with
Yeah.
having a nice breakfast that you do, maybe making yourself a gluten-free toast, if you like your toast, have some avocado on it, and then maybe some whatever else. You know, every single step in that process, the sheer fact that you made it yourself, you showed yourself the love. You
Yeah.
treated yourself. You made yourself special. That is how we need to learn to look after ourselves. And I think that is where a coach like you comes in, where you actually say, hey, look, here, there are so many ways how you can rephrase and relook at the things in your daily life to actually make them worthwhile, to make your life worthwhile living. And
Yeah.
that is freedom.
Yeah.
That is where actually a smile creeps on my face. And I might not like my meal prep, and I might not like those, but the moment I do it, I actually say, "Oh, it feels good. Makes me feel good."
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the whole thing, right? Because when you know that what you put in your mouth is 90% of how you're going to feel for the
Mm,
next couple of weeks,
yeah,
you can start to make choices.
hell
The
yeah.
thing I teach inside my 28-day challenge is before you before you put something in your mouth, just pause and ask yourself, is this something I really, really want right now? And that's hard to do in the moment because,
Mm,
again, our future selves are far away. We view our future selves as not us, but
oh,
as an other.
yeah.
And so what we have to do, it's an active practice. We have to bring that future self and start to embody that future self now. Like if
Mm,
I were that person, what would I do? If I love myself completely and wholly, what would my choice be? Would I allow my child to do this? I like to tell people who have children, can you love yourself in the same way you love your children? Can you show that much compassion, that much grace, that much care, that much love,
mm,
that much empathy? Right now, not everyone has children, but
mm.
we love animals. We love, there's a lot of ways to look at it.
I
If you
love
truly
that.
loved yourself the way that you love your children, would you talk to yourself that way? Who, and this is how you start to change those patterns.
Mm,
But it's a practice, it's active, you have to stay with it. And it
mm,
takes time, right? But it took you time to get here.
mm,
And your brain, all it wants to do is think the same thoughts over and over and over again. But you
mm,
have control of the brain and you get to choose what to think.
mm.
And so for me, like with the I hate you in the mirror, that was my trigger. I set a line and I said, this is my trigger. When I look in the mirror, I'm going to say I love you no matter what the first thought is that comes into my head. I'm going to say I
Beautiful,
love you.
beautiful,
And that
beautiful.
made a big difference in my life.
And it sounds like utopia for so many women if they are in the darkness, and not just women, guys.
Mm.
You just because
Everyone
you've
has
got
body dysmorphia.
hell
Everyone does.
yes, just because you've got a Y chromosome, come on, no,
Yeah.
just take that shit away. It is, and it doesn't matter if you're non-binary. It's the same things over and over.
Yeah.
The same
Yeah.
principles apply. Okay, so don't get hung up on labels. No, it is. We all are in the same, we all live in societies that have very similar values,
Sure.
even if you're listening from another country like India or from Pakistan with different belief systems. Ultimately, what we're talking about is true for virtually everyone on this world. So
Yes.
therefore, guys, girls, in between, just go for what is important, which is loving yourself. But you need to learn how to do that. You can't
Yeah.
just walk into a gym and know exactly how to use every single machine and every single weight in there. You have no idea. If you need to have someone to show you. And I think
Yeah.
that's the same. That's where a life coach comes in and gives you the assistance. He or she might guide you towards certain goals, but it is a journey. And on that journey, you will meet other people. There might be some trauma that your coach might not be wanting to address or is able to address. You might need maybe a family physician, a GP, to help with some medical problems, maybe a psychiatrist to help with some really dark mental problems, etc. There's so many. So create a power team. But if you have no idea where to start, I think a life coach is a bloody good start.
Yeah.
So,
What's really interesting is that I'm learning some techniques now that don't even require you to tell me what the issue is. I don't have to know. I can just tell you to bring it to your mind.
oh,
And then we can meet with a wise guide. And because really, at the end of the day, everything you need is inside of you.
oh,
So if I can direct you to that guide,
yeah.
there is no stopping your healing, your whatever. Maybe you don't need to be healed. Maybe you just need to move on. I don't know.
Nice. Nice.
There's I think that we have these experiences, these traumas, life, you could say, if you're jaded like me, you could say that life is a series of traumas and you just got to get over it, right?
Mm,
And I had I can't even mention how many traumas I had. So many
mm,
people that tried to break me when I was a child. And I was always the type to get back up. And my brain was so awesome because it made me forget a whole year of my life.
yeah.
So that I don't have to relive that trauma anymore, which is, that's pretty awesome, right? But at the same time, we have the option of letting life happen to us, victim, letting life come through us, or creating our lives.
Mhm.
And it's a process. First to recognize that maybe you're being a victim. And then you say, I don't want that. So then you're like, okay, I want to have life flow through me. Great. And then you can start to expect magic after that, and you can start to create life around you. And it's really amazing to look at it from that perspective. As soon as you get clear on what you want, the problem is getting clear on what it is you want and then staying focused enough on that one thing at a time, making it simple, because remember, experts simplify and beginners complicate. And I learned that in my business, and it's been such a really, I tried to build this business that was a behemoth before I was ready. And I was like, this isn't working and I don't love it. And so I just was like, nope, fuck this, I'm done. I don't want to work with complaining menopause women. And I love women in menopause, trust me, I do. But a lot of women complained, and that's the kind of people I was attracting. I'm like, I don't want to work with these people. I'm going to attract different people. And so I made a choice. I'm like, I'm going to attract people who understand me, who get me, who love me, who think I'm amazing. And I'm just going to be who I am. I'm not going to try and be something to somebody else. I'm going to be me.
Yeah.
And they either like me with my cursy, weird, like, no makeup, man's haircut, whatever, lesbian self, great. They don't, fine. That's okay. There's somebody else out there for them. And so that's kind of how I started it. And then I just started talking about it. And here I am. I am who I am. I can help you. I can help you change just about anything in 15 minutes or less. I have no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Right. But right now, my focus, I have one thing I'm focusing on, and that is I have a 28-day challenge. It's for women who want to lose their minnow belly. That's it. That's the only thing I'm focusing on this year.
That mental belly. Oh, I love it.
In the minnow belly. Yeah. And I'm focusing on it, and I'm doing it every month this year. I'm doing one cohort every month. So if you want to join, you can join in March. Okay. I don't know, it's February now. I don't know when this is airing, but you can join the beginning of the month. You can go and get on my newsletter email list, and you'll get notified of the wait list for the next month. And it's at drmichellgordon.com. You can get on my email list.
I was about
But
to
that's
say,
all I'm focusing on this year. And then from the Minnow Belly Challenge, you can actually, come into one of my other programs. And if you don't want to wait and go through the challenge and come into one of my other coaching programs so you can build the life you love, one habit at a time, then you just got to reach out to me, and I'll talk to you about, we'll get on the phone and we'll talk about what works best. That's it.
perfect. Perfect. You took the words out of my mouth, because I would have asked you, where can people find you? And you
Yeah.
already said it. Guys, look down there into the description of the YouTube video or of the podcast, because all of Michelle's contact details are in there. And the simple question is, who do you want to be? Because we all have gone through trauma. So therefore, we all have been victims. Some of us stay there for a long time. Now,
Yeah.
people like Michelle and myself, we became survivors. And some of us, again, me, I stayed in that survivor for, better part of, I would say, 30 years. And only then did I become a thriver. And that thriving, that is what we are all about now, this post-traumatic growth, not just surviving it, but actually thriving out of it, learning from the past, but more importantly, focusing on the future that we want to live, on the future that is important for us. And I think my trauma was a privilege. My traumas, and I know it sounds stupid and sounds corny, but I
No, you
actually,
wouldn't be who you are without them. And that's
exactly,
how you resolve trauma. The
exactly,
main thing is to realize you can't go out and back and change the past until
true.
we figure out how to time travel. We can time travel through different types of
Yeah,
hypnosis,
yeah,
but it's still, we can change how we feel about the past because of the way our brain works, because of the way memory works.
yeah,
There are things to do to lessen the trauma.
yeah.
However, once you can find gratitude, even for that the worst of the traumas,
Mm,
and trust me, I mean,
mm,
I was brutally raped as a child. I am not gonna, do I hate the abusers? Sure. Yeah. Can I forgive them? I've done my best. I
mm,
still think they're assholes. Okay. I mean, who does that to a child? Well, apparently it happens all the time.
mm,
But at the same time, without that experience, I would not have the tenacity that I have, the resilience that I have. And it
exactly.
is who I am. That's who I am here now. I mean, I can't go back and change the fact that this happened to me. But what I can do is change who I am now and who I'm choosing to be for the future. And when you decide who it is you want to be and start to embody that
Yeah.
and make the choices from that, then you bring the future to you. You actually draw it to you, because what wants you back. What you want wants you back. And so if your desire is, I want to build a bit, let's just say something easy. I want to build a business and I want to make a couple $1,000 a month. And that's all you're thinking about. Well, if you want that enough, it wants you back.
Mm.
And so then you just start working. What's the smallest thing I can do that's going to take me closer? One little thing at a time. And then
Absolutely.
1%. If you do 1% improvements every
Yeah.
week, that's 165% more better.
I love it. I love it. And more, actually, it's the compound interest, because once you actually improve yourself a little bit, you say, "Ooh, that's nice." And you actually
Yeah,
focus
you
a little
start
bit
getting
more.
more motivation.
That's right. Exactly. And it's
Yeah.
just as much as there's a vicious circle, a nasty spiral that can drag you down, there's equally the same spiral that can drag you up. You just need
Yeah.
to know how to jump on that bandwagon, whilst your brain is so good in trying to get you onto the other one. So
That's
no.
why I have coaches.
Exactly. Exactly right. Oh, brilliant. Michelle,
Yeah.
you're an amazing woman, an amazing story, an amazing transformation. Wow. You really made me rethink aspects of my life today. And no doubt many people out there will have thought the same. So I'm so grateful that you came on as a guest onto my show. And
Thanks for having me.
absolutely. I can't wait to have you back in a year's time or so to actually think,
Whenever.
who have you grown into now? Because we
Yeah.
all grow. So that's a beautiful thing. We just don't stop here. And who knows who you and I are in a year's time. This is a huge privilege. And
So I really want to come back in a year because my goal, actually, after building up this
yeah,
the minnow belly thing and the coaching, is I want to what I have it written down here. I want to have 10 doctor clients who want information, to want to build an information business. Because I have gone through the school of hard knocks, and it turns out that there's not a lot of people out there who will actually show you how to do this from start to finish. But what they'll do is take your money and not do what we expect a specialist to do in medicine. And so it'll be really nice to see where I am. But by the end of the year, I want to have 10 clients who are doctors who want to build an information business.
And how beautiful would that be? Because we can then be the catalysts for others, and we can be the transformers. We can help others to actually become those people. And that is the snowball effect. We can't, the world is a heap of shit in the moment and really needs help.
We say that every generation. I mean,
oh, true. No. My point is, however your outlook is on the world, and really the last 3 years I know no one who has had an easy life in the last 3 years. Yet, again, are you a victim? Are you a survivor? Or are you a thriver? And the way you need to start is with self-love and with modeling, looking after yourself. And with that, suddenly you create an influence on those people immediately around you, your family. So you model actually to your children how to build resilience by looking after yourself, those kind of things. So you are changing the world. One little choice, one little action at a time. So you're not powerless, you're not helpless. No, you're taking control. You're in the driver's seat in all the good ways. And we keep forgetting that. So there's so many good reasons why I want you to come onto this journey with Michelle and me, because we are out there and we try to be trendsetters, because we have seen what happens when you actually change your behavior, when you got your shit together. And that's beautiful. Michelle, you're an amazing woman. So thank you again so much for your time. Hey, that was brilliant.
Thanks so much for having me.
And you out there, look after yourself and live with passion. Okay? Bye.
Bye.
I never give up. I never give up. I never give up. Turn around.